Hello and welcome everybody to this webinar about NFC tracing. My name is Swantje Misveld. I am Product Business Development Manager at Comprion, and I have the pleasure to introduce you to Andreas, my colleague. He is Product Manager for Catalyst Test Solutions. Andreas is an NFC evangelist. He is a hardware security expert and a payment specialist. Before Andreas joined Comprion, he worked 17 years at Diebold Nixdorf and the fintech daughter Evi. Andreas, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Svantje. Thank you. I'm really keen that you invited me today, and I think we have some really nice features to explain, some news that you can expect from us in the upcoming minutes. And I'm happy to be here with you today. And let's start with the webinar. And yeah, I'm really happy that we can do this today.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on. Yeah, welcome. We would like to explain how you can benefit from the highlights we are going to present today. We will explain to you how you can make good captures for NFC traces and how to make more of it. Before we go into details, let's do a bit housekeeping. On the right-hand lower end of your webinar dialog, you can see the chat box. There you can ask questions, so please don't hesitate to type in your questions during the webinar. At the end, we are going to answer them. Those questions we cannot answer at the end, we will answer in a one-to-one communication via email. So don't hesitate to enter all your questions. Yeah, and then first we are going to start with two tiny questions. We're going to do a small poll to wake you up and to engage you a bit, and we're really keen to learn about your perspectives and your views. And the first question we'd like to ask to you is, where do you trace? You have two possibilities to answers, rather in the field or on the benchtop. That means on your desk in the lab. Or do you rather trace both? You can both click both. So I'm a bit waiting for people deciding and submitting their responses. They're slowly flowing in. Thank you for participating and being active. So there's still some decision making ongoing. So waiting a bit for you to
let's wait
to
a few
answer.
seconds.
Yeah, I think that most people are done now. So 3, 2, 1. I'm going to close the poll now. Thank you for all your participation and all your responses. Now we can see this is a bit red race.
Interesting.
Close, very close.
Very close.
So we have 67% in the field and 78% on the benchtop. So I think we can quite make this is a dual here. It's a bit split. It's a dual approach, I think. So yeah, thank you very much for this. And then there's another small question which I'd like to ask you. How would you like to control your tracer? Would you like to have, or do you prefer to use an app on the smartphone or a command line interface, or would you like to take both? So I have launched the poll now. I'm waiting for your responses. Very interesting. Okay. Still moving, still people participating.
Quite interesting.
This is it seems to be a completely different picture now. I think people are done now. I close the poll in 3, 2, 1. I close it and I share the results with you. Now we have a split between app usage and to have the possibility to use both. No one wants to have a command line tool only. Very helpful, very interesting, and I think we are going to adopt the presentation accordingly and explain what we are at. Okay, thank you very much. So I'm going to close the poll now, and then let's move on to the first highlight we'd like to present to you. Okay, if you have a tracer for the field and you need to make use of it very often, it should be quite small. So imagine you have a deck of cards, and this can be put into any pocket, shirt or trousers, and that's a very comfortable thing to carry around. Imagine you get a tracer which has this size, which is in the comparable shape of a deck of cards. That is our trace case. And Andreas, would you like to explain the other variant?
Yeah, let me explain a little bit about the trace case fit. So this is another variant that we created. So we saw that there is a demand for really more handy use. So that means for the generic, it's sometimes a little bit clumsy how to position the antenna with a card, with a terminal. So we created the trace case fit. So all the electronics is embedded in a smartphone cover. And yeah, it looks from the outside, it looks like a big battery pack. It's discrete and it's all embedded in one device. Yeah? So that's really a cool option that you have. I don't know if everybody is aware of this trace case fit, but I think it's really something that makes it very, very handy to use.
Yeah. Thank you for explaining this example. And then it's dedicated for use of mobile wallets. I think that's also important.
It's a trend that we see right now in the smart post devices. So the mobile becomes the next generation terminal. There's a big trend that, especially for the small and medium-sized businesses, that smartphones become the terminal itself. So I think that's well suited. Our trace case fit is well suited also for these use cases.
Okay, yeah. So good example, how to make good traces with a mini tracer. Okay, then let's move on to the next highlight I'd like to explain to you. That is about using an app. So in the poll, we have seen that 57% of the participants, they like to use an app. And I think, I like it as well because you're very familiar with your smartphone and you know how to use it. And then it's very, very comfortable to drive the device with an app. The app, we said, has a lot of possibilities, and you can distribute this for free, so it saves a lot of money, and you don't need a huge workstation with a lot of software on this. And if the app is created like that, you can come up with a simple yet stable or robust configuration which helps you to cover the most cases in the field to get good traces in a broad range of your occasions. And
let me again maybe highlight this again. So the app comes really for free. So 4 times per year, every quarter, we do an upgrade of the app. It's for free. It's you don't need a maintenance contract or something like that. You get all the additional features that our team programs via the app stores for free, and that's really a good thing, I think, because tomorrow we will do our next release with some new features, especially the ISO 15693, the NFC V support. It comes with the app for free for everybody, and that's, I think, a good thing. Yeah,
it's a good deal, or I think so. Yeah, and then there's also one other aspect for using an app. You have the chance to share data very easily. So this is very helpful to use a PDF report in human readable format to share your results with partners or with experts or back on the lab with some colleagues or service providers very easily. And that way you can check whether you want to redo some traces or they say that's good for us, we can use this. Okay, that's third highlight. Thank you for explaining this. Is there also an example you can give us how you can make use of an app very smartly?
Yeah, indeed there is. So for example, you are a chip maker. You have your silicon and you distribute the silicon to customers in Asia and your headquarters on somewhere in Europe. And you have to send your application engineers across the world. So, but your experts are at the headquarters. So the trace case is really suited to be used at the customer side, get the traces also from people that are not so skilled. Yeah, so it can be done by everybody. It's really easy to use the app, and then you send the traces back to your headquarters and for further analysis. Yeah, that's the intention. And we have integrated a quality check, an analyzer who helps you a little bit if the trace is a good trace or a bad trace. Some simple rules to do the quality check. If you have incomplete APDUs, for examples, then we can filter out those sessions, and yeah, that helps a lot.
Yeah, we're only announcing one of the further highlights. Yeah, thank you, Andreas. So it also saves, reduces your the carbon footprint if you don't travel too much, does it?
That's true. It saves time and money.
A lot, yes. Okay, then I'd like to move on to the next highlight. That is about adding metadata. We've given the headline pictures worth 1,000 words. So when you are doing a tracing session in the field, the traces can pile up easily. You have 20 or more files, and then sometimes it's hard to remember what exactly was this trace. Was this a group of traces to get more statistics, or where exactly has this trace been taken? Was it good or bad? What type of terminal has been used maybe? So if you use the app together with the tracer, you have a smartphone and it has a camera and it has geolocation. That way you can easily add metadata. I compare it a little bit like vacation photos. If you see the picture, the photograph, then all the memory comes up. Oh, it was this situation and this and that was taking place. So it helps you a lot to manage efficiently your captures, which can be a lot of. Or you just have a big they pile up on the smartphone and you want to go back to some older traces saying I must have something taken there and there with this issue or so. That way you can really efficiently manage all your captures. Okay, and then if you have really something very specific, you can also add a note that's within the app.
Yeah, everything is embedded in the trace itself, and it will not getting lost, this information. That's the thing.
Okay, here, thank you. Then we move on to the next highlight. We have tried to point, you indicated this already, we have tried to point out how to make good traces and without being the NFC guru. And here, if you have a tracer, make sure it comes with some support. So what we have, what we suggest and what we have is to have a pre-analysis of the communication exchange. If you trace the communication, you have to parse and analyze it to make it human readable, and then you get information about the quality of the trace. Is a pair of command and response complete? Are there any incomplete frames? What about the inherent quality of this trace? And if you're not the expert, why not leave it to the device and the software to evaluate and to automate evaluation of standard questions which pop up usually when you take an hour of capture.
It's a simple quality check. Imagine the possibilities in the future with the upgrades. Potentially we can also use artificial intelligence algorithms, whatever. We have integrated a very some simple algorithms to do this quality check, but with the upgrade mechanism of the app, you nearly have endless possibilities.
Yeah. So what you see here on the screen is an example of how you can filter your data. That way you can easily go to those sessions which are good and say, I want to have complete trace of everything. Or you can also explicitly go to those sessions which seem to be incomplete and have to have some issues or some problems. So this either way, you speed up to work with the results you have been able to generate. And I think in quality assurance, or if you really have something in the field with a strange behavior of a card or a smartphone and you want to sort this out fast because someone is complaining, then this is really helpful to speed up your analysis and your support. Yeah, okay, and then analysis is a good keyword to move on to the next highlight. So what we recommend if you have a mini tracer, take not only digital data, but also capture analog signals. We have here an example of the envelope taken. So why is this so important to take analog data as well? I think we will move on to an example. Would you like to explain this a bit? I think it's quite an unusual feature.
Yeah, it's not usual in the market. So I would like to emphasize how important it is, because the quality of the analog front end decides everything, I would say, for a tracer. So we have a software-defined radio approach with an FPGA. We can do the processing, we can update the processing to further standards or further protocols in later steps. Also, this is updatable via the app. And yeah, the analog data is really important. You have an architecture with an antenna, with a magnetic field, and all this has to be adjusted, and it's always a source for problems. And all these things you see in the analog trace very well. And also our oscilloscope or analog oscilloscope on the PC, you can view the analog data with the oscilloscope, and you see the overshoots and undershoots. You see the timings, you see the envelope, the waveform. Yeah, that's important to judge on the signal.
There are some signals.
Yeah, and then later on you can have a correlation to the problem in the protocols.
Yeah. How true. Okay. Yeah, and we also have a example. I think we have a use case from a customer to highlight and explain a bit further why this is so important or so interesting and so helpful. So we have a customer with an employee ID. That means they use a smartphone to enter the building and to, for instance, start the copy machine. So there was one smartphone not working at the entrance. So you might say, yeah, this is one smartphone. So what? But it was a smartphone. So things got a bit interesting, intense, and tricky. And we went there to take traces. And at the first sight, these traces look quite okay. So the protocols, that was all fine. But still, boss's phone did not open the door. So we took a further look and analyzed the analog traces. And there we found out that the reader at the entrance was slightly out of standards. So it closed the communication to the smartphone too fast. So smartphones often send waiting extensions. And at some point, the reader closed the communication saying this counterpart is dead. And therefore, yeah, the access control failed for this smartphone. It couldn't open the door. And yeah, we found out what the root cause was. It was easy to reconfigure the reader at the door to give more and correct timings according to the standards and to the limits set out. And yeah, this solved the issue. So therefore, you can see that sometimes it's very, very helpful to have deeper information and to get also access to the physical layer captures.
Right.
Okay, then the sixth highlight, the last part here of the presentation, which is from my side also the most interesting and fascinating part here, is about toolbox. So we call it toolbox. This is an access to the device, to the tracer via command line interface. This way, you can not only use this in the field, but you reuse the tracer in your lab environment. And this helps you to automate your traces. So if we made it available via command line interface, because that way you can use it into any operating system, in any environment, and also in any toolchain, because this is very easy to integrate this to your existing toolchain or to build a toolchain around if you don't have. And that way you can use it, for instance, with command prompt for Windows or PowerShell, or you can use it with terminal and Mac environments, or even Bash. Okay, and what you usually do in using the command line interface, there's two big parts. The one part is control, and the second part is convert. where control starts, stops, and downloads your traces. So you really operate the tracer to make traces in an automated way. For instance, if you have regression testing and you want to trace continuously and repeatedly in your application or with various setups, that's very comfortable to use it that way. And then the convert part is to make this available to further analyze a PDF report, for instance, in human readable format, share this easily and document this. And on the other hand, to use XML files for further automated analysis. And we are going to show a small video in the next slide here to make this a bit more visible to you. I mean, the command line interface is not very fantastic graphical user interface, but I have prepared some screen recording.
But it's really powerful, and that's important, I think. Even you can remote control over networks. You can speak with a trace case across the world from other sites.
Yeah.
It's also possible. So with the first implementation, one tip that I would give to you if you start using the evaluation version, then you can use your second USB Wi-Fi adapter, for example. That's always a good thing, that you can connect, you keep connected to your company network, and we recommend a USB to Wi-Fi stick for this, and span your own network, connect to the trace case. That is what you see here with the TC control command line tool. And yeah, Svante, you already start the video. We have prepared.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see here how to start and stop. You have to specify the TCP/IP address, and yeah, that's it basically. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. I think I'll interrupt shortly here and take a highlight here. What you can see here now is the start and the stop command, and I have used explicit paths to make this the most generic way, because some tools there differ in the path conventions. And here I had prepared is a little bit because I think you don't want to see me typing here, but yeah. And then the third part here is after start and stop. When you did your tracing, you have to download the trace from the device, and that's what you can see here. This is the download command, and then you also have to define a file where it should be pumped out into. Yeah. So that way you operate the start-stop download part, and then we move on to the next part. Yeah, here you can see on the right-hand side that a file pops up. Then in the second part, we have the conversion functionality. That means we convert the trace, the TRS file, first to a PDF file, and then after that, also to an XML file.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you have to specify if you want to which layer you want to convert. That means we offer the frame layer and the APDU layer. Today we have digital data, but maybe future versions will also support the analog data. So we'll really offer all the data that our trace case produces to the customer. We are ready with the XML format to be integrated into third parties. We have a few talks with parties in the market, how we can import the data into their tool chains. Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, with the XML, you get the timing information, the processing time. That's really the important thing. That's the reason why you need a tracer. Yeah. The data maybe you get through some other channels, but the exact timing, that's unique, that you need. Therefore, you need a tracer like trace case.
Yes, sometimes that's an important asset. I have here an example of a PDF file. So this makes it in human readable format, and you get, if you click in your PDF, you get more details about the parsing and the content here. I'd like to highlight here that you get some delay times. These times are the timing between end of a command of a reader and start of the response of a card. So this is very important for EMVCO level 1 compliance, for instance, but sometimes you need more details. For instance, you need the complete timing of a transaction. And now I have here an example of an XML file. Don't go into details, it's just the impression. I just like to highlight two things. You get a very detailed set of information which enables you to analyze and automate analysis of your traces in the way you like to. So you get all the details we can get out of there. We enter into the XML file, we pump this out there, and then you also get a quality control here. So you can see here there's an incomplete frame highlighted, that an incomplete APDU highlighted. So you get some evaluation automatically already. This helps to speed up analysis. Well, it's not just that we are not able to make good XML files. We also bad XML files. We also have complete XML files just to make this complete. So yeah, you don't want to look at this because that's very confusing maybe and a lot of details. What can you do with an XML file? You can put this into a Python script, for instance, or into any tool you prefer to use for further and automated analysis. So what I'd like to take here is an example of a Python script which calculates the so-called tariff times. Tariff times is the transmission time of a payment transaction according to book A from EMVCO. So this is a very more common example where you need exact timings and why you have to pay attention on. Whereas the card has a budget of 400 milliseconds, the terminal has a budget of 100 milliseconds. So it's very important to check that your payment terminal is compliant and is performant enough to comply here. So this is not about the details we have shown here. It's about how you can use and how you can automate your analysis using and adding this command line interface to the mini tracer you have already. So what we have here the signal timings, and then sum this up. Yeah. It's for the reader it's 1 in 3, and for the card it's 2 in 3, and reader is 1 in 4. Okay. Here. Yeah. So that's the example we have here.
Yeah, let me emphasize. So the XML is the data of the transaction pre-processed with the timings. I think that's very powerful. Yeah, and gives a lot of possibilities with the integration in third-party tools, and that's what we offer to your customers.
Yeah, we are at the end of the presentation with the 6 highlights. Thank you for your attention. And now I'd like to take a look on the questions. We have the Q&A session here now. So we have some questions here. Andreas, the first question I'd like to ask to you is, in the app, do you also see the analog envelope?
Not yet. So for the smartphone, we thought it's a little bit difficult, even if smartphones get more powerful and the display is more powerful. So it depends also a little bit on the pull of the customers. So we would like to do a version for the iPad in future, but so I'm interested to speak with you, with the customers, to get more inputs, what you would need, and yeah, let's see what we can do in the future.
Okay, this is a good keyword because here I've just forgotten. We at the end, after the webinar, we have a very small survey, 2 questions, and if you answer it, you get the Python script I have just shown. So yeah, please answer the questions. The goodie is the Python script. It would help us a lot if you answer it. Yeah. And yeah, we would like you to participate actively. So what else do we have here as question? The other question is about the apps we offer. Is this both Android and Mac and iPhone?
Yes, it's everything. Yeah. So potentially we could also work on Linux. So we have the technology in place. That is a little bit our construction side at the moment with the app. We have really the basis to have the same code basis over every operating system, from Windows to Mac to Linux or whatever you would like to have, and also across Android and iOS, and I don't know, whatever comes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we are ready for this now, and yeah.
Okay, yeah. On the future development, so or on the availability. So we have presented a command line interface. Is this already available?
Yeah, it's available for evaluation. So
Okay.
you can talk with us if you are interested. It comes as a separate product. Please understand that we cannot do this for free, like the app features. But yeah, so talk with us if you are interested, and we will add additional functionality step by step. It will be equipped with. This will be equipped with a maintenance contact, I have to say, and we can add further functionalities to the toolbox then on customer demand.
Okay, good. So more important to answer the survey at the end of the presentation. And yeah, then maybe concerning the two variants we had about having a mini tracer like this or having something like this built into a smartphone cover. There was something about the antenna distance. Would you repeat this a bit, please?
Yeah, I can do. So for to get reliable traces at the end, you need to a fixed position of the tracing antenna. You need to fix this, and this is can be more easily done with the trace case fit. It's always difficult to hold the antenna with a trace case generic, and yeah, therefore we recommend the trace case fit. You can also customize the trace case fit. We offer the products from Apple and from of course from the Android universum, from Samsung and others. Yeah, yeah, it's how you like to use it.
That's your preferences. If you have a more generic or work rather with a smartphone directly here. Okay, yeah. Thank you very much. Okay, then here, I think we are quite at the end of the webinar now. I'd like to thank everyone for participating and for participating actively, taking part in the poll. And I'd like you to take part in the survey as well. But before we call this a day and to end the webinar, I'd like you to take away your 3 points I'd like to highlight again to take away with you is how to make you love or make NFC tracing more lovable is get a mini tracer, which is small and discreet and best case mobile. So if you have a battery driven device, it's really mobile and really you can use it very long in the field if you can exchange the battery, and then it's very discreet. Put this in a pocket or cover it in a smartphone. And then secondly, which is simple to use for both analog and digital. So if you have a tracer which has a configuration and parameter setting covering a big range of communication properties, this is very helpful. You don't need to be the expert to take traces. You don't need to go into parameter settings endlessly trying this works or this doesn't work, because if you have a tracer which has been pre-configured by experience, a broad range of participants and technologies or typical properties of NFC communication in the market, then you can use it right away, and also use it with analog. That means take more information. If you're already there, take the envelope, the physical layer information as well to really find root causes of errors or really sort out or rule out if there's anything on the physical layer, which for contactless communication still can happen. So we have a lot of standards in the world and a lot of products, a lot of smartphones. First of all, they're really compliant, but sometimes here and there you have interesting behaviors, and that helps you to rule out any flaws.
Last but not least, I would like to mention that we have updated our website also with the latest data sheets. We have updated, we have put all the manuals online, and very important, in the next days we will release our next version of the app and also of the trace case viewer with the NFC support. It's a major feature. Also some other features will come, so stay tuned. And yeah, I'm happy to be that I was here in this very nice webinar.
Thank you very
with
much,
you,
Andreas.
Francia.
Thank you very much. Well, I'd like to finish with a third point and take a tracer that comes with a toolbox with a command line interface to take your analysis further and automate your analysis. And reuse the tracer in your lab facilities, in your R&D lab as well. Okay, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Any of the other questions we're going to answer directly in one-to-one communication. Here, Andreas, I thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, maybe my last word, if you have feature requests, please let us know in the survey, after the survey, that we can prioritize our work and see how it goes in the future with TraceCase.
That's very true. Okay, then thank you very much. This was the webinar 6 highlights that make you laugh NFC tracing. I hope you enjoyed it, and we're hoping that we see you soon in some communication or in the next webinar. Thank you and
thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.